wonge varini kinyokin kikusiake maninki.
Welcome back to another edition of the AI Transformation Playbook, where we move beyond AI hype to explore what it really takes for organizations to thrive in the age of artificial intelligence. I am Bannavti Suiseka. Today's guest brings a practical perspective that many executives overlook. While much of the AI conversation focuses on automation, productivity, our guest helps businesses answer a different question. How will customers find and trust you in an AI-driven world? Joining us today is Wes Towers, founder of Uplift 360, where he helps businesses modernize their digital presence through AI-ready websites, SEO strategy, and customer-focused digital experiences. Wes works closely with construction, trades, manufacturing, and industrial organizations that are often told AI isn't relevant to them until it's too late. Today, we'll explore why websites are evolving into trust platforms, how AI is changing buyer behavior, and what leaders should be doing now to remain visible and competitive. Wes, welcome to the AI Transformational Playbook.
Fantastic to be here today. Thanks so much for the opportunity to speak to you. I've listened to a number of your podcasts now already, and it's good to speak in person.
Thank you very much for being a loyal listener. So most executives think AI transforms internal operations. You spend your time looking outward. How is AI changing the customer journey?
It absolutely is. So as you mentioned earlier, the trust is a massive factor in all forms of marketing. And it feels certainly to me that trust is being eroded. We don't necessarily trust what we read. We know it may have been written by AI. We don't even know if a human checked over it before it was published in terms of marketing, social media, all these sorts of things. We don't trust what we read. We don't trust what we see. We don't trust the images that we see. We don't know if they're real. We don't trust the videos that we see. We've all seen celebrity videos, which were not legitimately the celebrity. And that's kind of fun and exciting, but it's terrifying as well because we don't trust anything. Certainly here in Australia, we've got some challenges with the political people, videos of political people, but they're not really them. So that can disrupt the whole political system. So trust is being eroded in every factor of life. And certainly from a marketing standpoint, that's the one key thing you need to build. You need to be a trustworthy business to grow your business. And that's the one thing that we need to work on these days.
All right. I have a follow-up. When somebody needs a service today, they might Google it. Tomorrow, they may ask ChatGPT. How does all of this change marketing? How is it influencing the marketing today?
Yeah, so you need every possible trust signal you can get. And so it might start with simple things like Google reviews, things that can't easily be manipulated or artificially created. Now, people do try and create fake Google reviews, but Google are really sophisticated at detecting that sort of thing, and you could get yourself penalized. So I'll never encourage anyone to make fake reviews, but any third-party endorsement, recommendation, what we rely upon is relationships with other people oftentimes. So if we have a particular need, we need to purchase something, we're looking to buy something, we may jump on our social media and ask our own network, people that we already trust. So leveraging trust that's already established in the marketplace is really powerful. So with all the generic and bland content being produced through AI, everyone's sort of creating similar material. And you could jump on ChatGPT as a simple AI platform and say, hey, write me a blog post about my industry and so on. And out will pop something that's perceived to be new, but it's not genuinely new. It's just a collation of other people's thoughts and ideas into something. So once you start to add something that's genuinely new, information gain, we like to call it. So what's the additional information you're providing to the world in the piece of content you can that you're publishing? That's when you're adding something of real value to the world and the conversation, and that's where you might show up in Google. That's where you might help to show up in AI itself, large language models. The content that you produce will help you show up in all the right places. They're all trying to achieve the same thing, surface the very best information for someone with a particular inquiry. So in a large language model, you might be more inclined to search full sentences and backward and forward. In Google, you still might be more inclined to search for a service and a location, Plumber Melbourne, for example. But even that's changing. We're all searching in longer sentences simply because we know the tools understand longer sentences. So everything's changing right now, but the principles and the foundations remain the same. Quality content that's unique and valuable to the real world audience, and things that will build trust in your niche that you serve, the industry that you serve. So you can be known as the expert person for that particular industry.
Building authority to be the to-go person, the thought leader for your industry. I like that. I like to hear that because I'm working on something like similar like that. So everyone is saying that SEO is dying. Is that actually true? Is SEO evolving into something much bigger, or is it dying?
It's certainly changing a lot. And so what we've found, we do SEO and we've done it for a number of years. And so historically, a lot of people would jump on Google and search. Search engine optimization is an attempt to show it up as highly as you can in search engines, Google and the like, for as many phrases as you possibly can. And so people historically would research a particular topic online. And so they would Google a few things and try and find out what they're looking to purchase well before they're ready to buy something. So they would research, but no fewer people are researching on Google these days. They're still using Google, but they're using it at the closer end of the cycle where they're ready to buy something. So when they're just researching, they're more likely to jump on their preferred AI platform because it's better at having a conversation backward and forward. Now, within Google, there's the AI mode as well. So that's a different beast in itself. But we're more likely to research in other ways. So there's less traffic coming through Google to websites because the answer is in the platform itself. You don't need to, even if you use the Google AI mode, you don't necessarily need to visit a website. So what happened was there was a whole bunch less traffic coming to websites. And so people thought, well, this SEO thing, it's not useful or relevant anymore. That's not true. What's happening is people are getting less traffic to their website, but the quality of the traffic, it's more likely to become a customer. What we've found is people aren't getting less sales or conversions through their website. They're getting less traffic for sure. But the people who, by the time they get to the website, they're really ready to make a buying decision.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're talking about website. What role do you think websites will play in the next 5 years with this AI evolution?
It's going to be interesting for a whole range of reasons. So firstly, with AI and the way people can build their own websites, that's the vibe coding and so on. It's getting really sophisticated now. It can create a really polished and refined looking site these days. It's only going to get better. So it's changing my industry. Like our industry with digital agency, we build websites as one of the core services. That's probably the priority service we've always provided. And so people would come to us to build quality websites that look amazing, that are built for conversion, all of these things built for search engine optimization. But it's perceivable that they'll need us less and less for the technical aspect of building the thing because the AI tools will do that for them. And this is true of many industries. This is just one sliver of what's going to happen. So the technology piece, our programming skill sets, people paying us because we had a high level of these understandings. That is going to diminish in value because people will be able to do the technical by themselves. But the thought leadership and to be the very best in the industry, you need the very best guidance and advice because at the moment and in the future, you'll have an abundance of choices and opportunities and you can do whatever you want to with your own website. But you tell the tool what you want and it'll create it. But that doesn't mean it's built for conversion optimization. It doesn't mean it's got all the marketing principles and you might just choose a design based on your personal preferences, what you like the best. That's a poor decision-making process. What you really want to be choosing is something that's going to resonate with your audience, with your target market. So I think the value is going to shift from the technical programming aspect of what we've done for so many years and more to the thought leadership and that guidance and understanding. You've got an abundance of choices and opportunities and they're all good. But how do you choose the great one? How do you make the great decision? You're going to need guidance from people who have done it 100 times.
Absolutely. So I was telling a friend yesterday, is going to client-facing roles. Client-facing roles are going to be very important now more than ever because everybody can build a tool now. I was just playing around and I built 3 tools just by playing around. So I was like, that's how easy it has become to build a tool now. But the challenge will be, how do you get people to use the tools? How will you get people to use it? So one thing I really like from your work is your emphasis on trust. Why do you describe websites as becoming the trust hub of a business?
Well, I think that's what causes someone to buy is for them to trust the business is going to deliver, particularly a service, but even a product. They're going to trust what they're purchasing is going to be a quality experience and a quality product or a quality service. And so the only way to know that is to have trust signals in place. And the way we like to think about it, all from a marketing standpoint, most of us have heard about the sales funnel, the online funnel. So the idea was you would capture lots of leads and eventually you'd whittle them down to become a customer. But I think that's changing a lot these days, simply because at the top of the funnel, these funnels that people would create would be some sort of information product. But that information is available at a few clicks of a button or to speak to your ChatGPT. The information at the top is of less value because they can get it anywhere. And also they don't want to part way with their privacy to get it. You had to fill in a form with your email and your name and so on. And so people have a higher value of their privacy because that's a concern these days, growing concern, but also the information isn't that valuable. So you've got to think about creating value. And we like to think of it more of a cycle. So that the end customer isn't the finished end goal. That whatever you're doing with them becomes case studies, becomes reviews, becomes the next channel of marketing, because your best next customer is likely going to look just like your very best customer right now. They're going to have similar needs, similar behaviors, this sort of thing. So using the work that you already do, we work with a lot of construction companies. So if they can showcase buildings that they've worked on, maybe their dream homes, maybe their commercial buildings, whatever it is, if we can show them on the website with a story, a case study, it's all proof, it's all signals to build trust. So if you've seen they've done something before that you want something similar, you go, well, they've done it before. They've got credit in the bank. They know what they're doing. They've been around for a long time. They're trustworthy. They're more likely to be hired.
So what signals create trust today and what signals will AI begin looking for?
Because the AI is able to glean information far and wide, broadly, it can be really difficult. Historically, for search engine optimization, what people would try to do is get backlinks. So a backlink was a link from another website to your website. And acts almost like a vote of confidence for your website. So then people started trying to game that and created a whole bunch of spammy kind of links. And Google and the like said, well, this is not helpful. So they would downgrade and even penalize sites who were doing things that were ethical. They're black hat SEO, it's called. But then the way we're shifting now is you don't even need the backlink. What you need is your brand mentioned in reliable, trustworthy sources. So if you've created a wonderful experience and you get good publicity in the media, you get your brand mentioned in a positive way in a whole bunch of places, it's going to help you show up in Google. It's going to help you show up in large language models. So they're able to look far and wide about mentions about your business and brand. So obviously you need to provide a great service and product and be well regarded. And there's nowhere to hide really. So if you do something that's not quite right and you get bad publicity, well, that's going to be really detrimental. So the quality of business, I think, is going to become more and more important to create a great customer experience, because what's being published about you online is somewhat outside your control. So you've got to earn the trust and recognition and then amplify anything that's positive far and wide. Say you get a great endorsement from somebody or a media mention, you should be syndicating that message far and wide to make sure everyone sees it. Just like this microphone, it's syndicating my voice out to the podcast and then it's being broadcast in a whole bunch of places. Think about if you get a great mention in the local media for you've done whatever service, think about sharing that in your own channels. So post it on your social media platforms, etc. Maybe write a blog post about it within your website and reference the material. These sorts of things all build trust and elevate your brand. And you can use AI to structure how you want to repurpose and republish things. But it's genuinely something that's adding value to the conversation.
So you work with trade, construction, industrial business. I love that when I noticed it. So many people assume that those industries are actually behind AI. What are you actually seeing? Where are they succeeding? Where are they struggling?
It is very interesting. So because a lot of these businesses are founder-led businesses and they work their way up on the tools, so they trade people, they might have started as an apprentice, then they became fully qualified, and then they're some form of management in a company. They've grown their way up through these entities and then they start their own business. So they're really practical, pragmatic, down-to-earth, hands-on people, but they're not necessarily computer-based people. Their natural habitat isn't sitting behind a computer. And maybe they're doing that these days, but it's not how they've evolved into their business career path. So you tend to avoid what you don't understand. So there's a temptation, and because artificial intelligence can feel overwhelming, and as your book says, it can feel the control aspect, it can feel chaotic and out of control because we just don't know what it is and what it does. So there's those that are reluctantly just ignoring it, and I think they're at real risk of being wiped out, particularly in tough times. We've got tough times in Australia for these types of businesses, for global things that happen in the world that impact us, certainly. Those that are ready to implement, so certainly there's a lot implementing at an entry level in the office environment for the companies that are big enough to have a good office environment. But we're helping and coming alongside to help leverage AI into their marketing. And so the good news is for these types of people is they will delegate. They'll understand, hey, this isn't part of what we do really well, but we'll find someone who can do it well. Trust them to implement. Yeah, and I think that's the key for everything in life. Now, no one can have all the answers to every single thing because it's moving so fast. AI is just, you make a decision today and tomorrow there's something better. How on earth are we going to ever make decisions if that's the way life is right now? We've just got to do the very best you can at the time and stay flexible and dynamic enough to make changes where required and necessary, to continually improve and enhance what you're doing. So it's been wonderful working with these companies. I love working with the trades, construction, industrial brands, and we can get really great results for them.
Awesome. So many business owners ask, should I buy AI software? What's the best? What do you think is a better question they should be asking? What mistakes do you repeatedly see across the board?
I think there's a lot of mistakes that can be made, but there's a few key things to think about. No matter what tools or technology you choose to use, a lot of the ChatGPTs of this world, the best way of thinking about it that really moves the needle is to start speaking to the device as opposed to typing. And the reason I say that is when you speak, you'll capture a whole bunch more thoughts and ideas and nuance. These are large language models. They want lots of language. They want words. Yeah. They want to understand deeply what it is you're trying to do. So if you speak to the device, then you'll naturally give more information and then you can refine from there. So that's the biggest shift that I made, just the way in which I use the tools is to speak to them wherever possible and practical. So that creates headaches if you're in a shared office with a small space where you've got people shoulder to shoulder, and it might become quite a large office. I'm fortunate that I've got my own space. So just thinking about the way in which you use the tools, I think that's the biggest game changer. But it's the reluctance to make a decision because there might be something better in the horizon is another big mistake, simply because you'll just be left behind as well. Yeah, so getting the guidance and advice of people who are experts in that one area of expertise. Maybe it's administrative, that you're looking to implement some AI on the administrative side of things. That's not my specialty. We certainly use it for our side of things, but it's not an expert knowledge that we bring to our clients. So you realistically should be thinking about speaking to someone consultant for that.
Right.
Yeah. So you want the very best guidance and advice from a human to make sure you're choosing the very best options available at the time.
So let's imagine from 5 years from now, how will customers search differently? Will websites disappear or become even more important?
I don't think they'll disappear. I think they'll be more important in a number of ways. Your website should be the pillar of source of truth for your company because it's where you can publish lots of content. And there's two goals with a website. So you want the main pages of your website to be clear, concise, compelling, to create some form of call to action so people take action and you can grow your business. So that's one side of the website, and we'll continue to use it, I think, for that side of things. But also to train, it's a great way to train AI, to train all the large language models about what you do at a deeper level. So that's where you need substantial content published as well. And so whilst sometimes no one will read it directly from your website, it will be pulled into the AI platforms to your information, and hopefully your brand gets mentioned and you can grow your business as well, showing up in all the right places. So it's a tool to train AI, but also to grow your business. I think we'll always have a need for the designed physical website, not just the information-rich content for the AI platforms to glean. Especially if you're selling something of high perceived value, people want a deep knowledge of your business. If we're working with a builder right now who builds multi-million-dollar buildings, people aren't just making a rapid decision. They're going to look at their website and they're going to check everything that they possibly can before they make a buying decision, especially in that industry where a lot of businesses have gone out of business. So they really want to make sure that they can tick all the boxes. So they're going to definitely visit the website and make sure they're genuinely who they say they are and they seem credible and reliable and they've done it before.
Do you think small business will be able to compete? Or will AI simply make the largest companies stronger?
I think the only way to compete as a small business, I think some of them will beat bigger businesses in a small niche. So if you can be the expert in one small niche, think about your industry at large. But if you're really an expert in one type of offering, one kind of customer, then you've got the potential to really grow. And depends on the nature of what you're providing. Some businesses will be geographically bound. They can only serve people within their region. But then there's online businesses who can serve anyone in the globe. So in those instances, you can afford to be really niched because the global market is a big place. If you're in a small town, let's say you're an electrician and you're in a small town and there's only 2 electricians in town. Well, realistically, you can't niche too much because you need to do all the electrical works available because that's what's going to sustain you. So there's always balance in these things. But if you're in a bigger city, you probably can afford to niche in and it's probably going to be a better financial outcome for you for the long term. It's just a scary decision to make because it feels as though you're cutting off so many opportunities by niching. But realistically, you're just amplifying the ideal client.
Like that. So if you're a small business, think about what he just said, niching. Look for a small niche and start from there. So the podcast is about leadership. How should CEOs think differently about marketing because of AI?
Well, I think,
what conversation should leadership teams begin having today?
Well, the thing that I discovered in this new era that we're living in is I leaned upon my team far more than I ever had done before. I've got brilliant minds around me from a technical aspect. Of course I do, being a digital agency. They're tech savvy people and seeing things that I haven't seen simply because there's just so much out there. And they're kind of geeking out on all this tech stuff as well. So I realized, hey, I'm not the source of all knowledge. Things are moving so fast. We need to be a team so that we can get the greatest ideas of what other people are seeing already. So just opening up the platform for other people to speak into our business was a real game changer. And we had the most profitable year ever off the back of having them speak into our standard operating procedures, a whole bunch of things. So I think for a CEO, they're naturally obviously inclined to draw upon the insights from the different departments of a company. But that's going to be the key ingredient for real rapid success. And they might even need to start thinking about digging deeper into the thoughts and ideas from a company. So they might have originally spoken to the middle management type people for ideas, but it might be wise to start thinking about even getting a little bit more detailed in other people within an organization, because there's just so much knowledge that any company sits on, but just the people who are at the entry level jobs might have some knowledge that you need to know about, and it's just hard for them to get their voice heard. So finding ways to get their voice heard so that you can stay dynamic and nimble and grow in this rapidly changing, overwhelming world we're living in.
So since trust is a virtue, it doesn't actually change and technology changes, how do you think business can avoid becoming less human, less trustworthy while adopting AI?
Well, for us, this is exactly what I've focused on doing, whilst we're obviously implementing AI to a high level and degree. But that's for my team to really concentrate on more so than me. My goal as the face of the business and the brand is to use all my spare time. I've got more spare time because there's less grunt work that I need to be involved in. AI takes care of a lot of things. I'm focusing my attention on getting my personal brand and the company brand out there. And that for us, the company brand is largely built upon my personal brand as well, because that's the first, as a small business, that's the first person they speak to. And so I think those that are brave enough to get outside of your comfort zone, potentially, if you're a little bit reserved or reluctant, and be on podcasts like this, so powerful because It's authentic, it's real, it's you and I speaking.
Right. Yeah.
We're not AI bots. People can see that we're not just an AI bot version of ourselves.
Absolutely.
And so there's that human relationship and connection, because we all know we're imperfect, but that's the beauty of being people and humans, and the trust that we have in another person who's somewhat going through their own journey. It's a beautiful thing. And I think people will hide behind their computers, but it's not the time to do that. It's the time to get out there, build yourself.
Be released. Absolutely. Yeah. We go now to our rapid fire question where you can just answer with one sentence.
Sure.
So what is the most overrated marketing advice?
I think to build a funnel is the overrated advice now. I don't think they work anymore.
The biggest AI myth?
That AI will replace humans completely.
Absolutely. One website mistake every CEO makes?
Designing it to your own personal preferences rather than what your customer enjoys.
I love that. Your favorite AI tool? What's your favorite AI tool?
I still just love ChatGPT because I can talk to it in the car and collate my thoughts.
Yeah, ChatGPT is still the goat of everyone. So most
overrated business skill. Well, I think now the most overrated will be the programming. Unfortunately, we've got programmers in our team, but I think that's going to diminish in value.
All right. So the human skill AI will never replace.
Relationships. I hope not. Yep. I certainly hope people don't.
Even though I have a lot of people who are talking to AI for relationship advice and asking. So what is one habit every business leader should build?
To capture your creative thoughts as you think of them, because if you don't capture it as you think of it, it'll be lost.
What's one book every entrepreneur should read?
The most impactful book for me was The 4-Hour Workweek. I know it was written quite a while ago now, but I just love the style of it, and it really set my business up in a healthy way early on.
So what's your prediction for business in 2030 and AI as well?
It's so difficult. I hear some horror. Some days I think the world's going to be wiped out. Other days I think it's going to be all good. I think that we're going to see some people do really well financially as a metric for business, and we're going to see other businesses disappear. It's going to be a massive shake-up, so we all just need to be ready for it.
Yeah, I asked the question to one of my previous guests, and he's like, everything he predicted happened faster than he expected. So everything is going real fast. It's not easy to get the prediction right because it's happening faster. So imagine every CEO, every founder, every business owner is listening right now. What's one piece of advice you hope they'll remember long after this conversation ends?
I would say to leverage the expertise of the people around you, and where there is a lack of expertise, go find a consultant who can speak to that one area that you need to work on right now.
So Wes, this was an outstanding conversation. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, share with another leader, and join us next week for another edition of AI Transformational Playbook. Remember, AI transformation isn't about replacing people. It's about helping organizations make better decisions, build greater thought, create lasting value. Before we wrap, where can our audience connect with you? Uplift360.com.au, being an Australian website, but we do serve clients all around the world, and you can book a strategy call with me there. No obligations with that call, so happy to chat to anybody. So one final question for you. If you were adding a 7th pillar to the AI readiness framework, specifically around customer trust and digital presence, what will you include? Oh, wow. I think one thing that you could start thinking about, for most of us as businesses marketing ourselves, we've always tried to present a polished, perfected version of ourselves, but everyone's sort of known it. You're probably not as good as what you're pretending to be. I think those that can show up in a real and potentially even vulnerable way to say that, hey, we don't do this sort of work really well, but we do this work. So that to show up authentically, I think is going to be really important. Thank you very much, Wes.